Hello, my name is Kate McMahon, and thank you for joining us today for Profile. Very excited to introduce you to my guest today. First, we have Scott McDowell. Nice to see you, Scott.
Thank you, Kate.
Scott is an author, and I'm very excited to learn about his most recent historical book about Dennis. And then we have Captain Chip Carroll of the Albatross. Thank you for being here.
I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
I have had a chance to read Scott's book, and the Albatross has a very storied history, and I'm looking forward to learning more directly from you.
Looking forward to it.
Now, Scott, you growing up here in Dennis, you have a lot of history and knowledge yourself, but I think you also have a personal history with the Albatross.
That's right. I grew up in Dennis Village by Corporation Beach. And when I was 14 years old, a man in town named Dave Howes, who was only in his mid-20s, he decided to start a new business taking tourists out on a fishing boat. And Dave was, he was very local, and he was wise knowing that there wasn't a lot of money in town in the 60s. So he decided to set up a business where tourists could go out, and adults only had to pay $5 to go out fishing for 4 hours, and the children were only $3 a trip. So it was a real low-budget family business. Mm-hmm. It was not what you'd call deep-sea fishing. It was just flounder fishing near the shore in East Dennis. So it was very easy, very friendly. And back in those days, like I said, there was not much money around.
Right.
So the tourists didn't have money. None of our parents had much money. So Dave said, well, I can pay you $8 a day. That was my job.
Oh, fun.
Times have changed a lot now, and the boys do very well, but in 1965, it was $8 a day for cutting bait and pulling the anchor, and as many quahogs as I could eat. So it was a pretty good deal to me at the time. But what was nice about it is that people kept coming back year after year, and it was really a sense of nostalgia. The families would come back and they'd say, oh, we have to go back out on the Albatross this year.
Oh, nice tradition that some of the families made.
Exactly. So year after year, the people would come, and then the sons would grow up, and then they'd have a family, they'd bring their children. So there have been a number of cases where, honestly, 5 generations in a family have come out on the boat.
Isn't
so it's a wonderful story.
That is. It's a great story. And the Albatross has been around for 50 years.
Yeah, 54 years, and we've estimated that over 200,000 people have been out on that boat.
Isn't that something?
Over those years, so it's just still going.
Almost the population, or the year-round population of Cape Cod.
Yeah,
200,000.
right.
That's quite a run. Now, Chip, you are the current owner of the Albatross. Can you tell us a little bit about how that became your boat?
Well, it's actually kind of a dream come true for me. I'm a wash ashore. I'm originally from Connecticut, but I spent my every summer in Corporation Beach. And I watched that boat go by countless times. When we were kids on Corporation Beach, nobody had a waterproof watch in the 70s. So that's how we told time. When the Albatross came by for the second go, our parents had instructed us, you're supposed to pack everything up and come up to the cottage because they knew the lifeguards left at 5 o'clock.
Oh, that's great.
That was our timepiece. And I used to go out on the boat, and when I was older, I brought my kids out on the boat, and it was just an afternoon fishing on the 26th of August in '05, and one of the mates on the boat just happened to make an offhand comment the boat was for sale. And I was overwhelmed because it looked like it was something that'd work out really, really nice as a retirement job.
Oh, that's great.
So that's what I do.
I can't imagine it's much of a retirement job on in the summer on Cape Cod. You must be super busy.
We are, but it's a sprint. You know, it's I don't think if this was in Florida, I couldn't do it 12 months a year, but I can tough it out for 10 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm not unhappy to see Labor Day when it comes around.
Right.
But it's fun work. It's a good tired.
Yeah. Not a bad place to be at all on the north side of Cape Cod.
No,
Cape Cod Bay is beautiful.
It's very, very beautiful. We're very, very fortunate to be there.
Yes. Now, Scott, you do have a background being on the water, right? Don't you have a degree in oceanography?
Yes, growing up on the water, I really had to stick with it. Our whole family has salt water in our veins, and so I went to graduate school and got a PhD in ocean physics. So I've had an interesting career. Now I'm retired and I can enjoy writing about what I want. and I've published 4 books in the past 5 years. But now I'm enjoying writing about the nostalgia in Dennis. So the Albatross is a great story because I was Dave Howe's first mate in 1965.
Wow, that's great.
So I spoke to Dave quite a bit and spoke to Chip, and we said, yeah, let's put a book together. So they gave me a lot of input, and then I spoke to, I think it was over 40 of the deckhands over the years, so they all contributed their stories. So it's kind of like everyone's book, and we're all happy it's documented and it's enjoyable.
Yeah, that's great. It's a wonderful story too. Now, let's talk a little bit more, if we can, about the number of deckhands that were on board the Albatross during the...
Yeah, there have been well over 100, we calculated.
Right.
And they've really done well. It's in interacting with them, we could learn about what their careers have been, and many of them have sought very interesting careers in the public sector. There are many in the medical field, quite a few in marine education and research. Then others are firemen and in the Navy, the Coast Guard. So really a wonderful cross-section of employment. And they all get back to saying that Dave Howe's in the beginning and Chip really gave them wonderful mentoring, taught them how to be responsible, and they decided to pursue that career.
That's wonderful. That's really great. So I know that you have a couple of mates on board with you now. Were they with you early on, or how did they come to be on the Albatross with you?
Well, Dave, the prior owner, kids me all the time, says I'm too good to him because I can't get rid of him. I have the one kid that's been with me now every year for 14 years.
Oh, wow.
And he started out, I think, as a sophomore at DY, and he's now a full-time fireman here in the town of Dennis. And I try to treat them really well. It's my goals that all the kids want to work for the Albatross, and then I feel that way we have the pick of the litter, which I think we do right now. We're very, very fortunate to have the guys that we have. They're awesome.
Wonderful. That's wonderful. It takes quite a bit of people power to keep the boat and the customers happy, I'm sure.
Well, it is one of those things. I try to tell the guys that we're not really a fishing boat. We're an entertainment business. And for instance, when they get a skate or a sand shark, which is not something that normally one would go fishing after, is to tell them to take it around the boat, let the little kids touch it, let them feel the skin of the shark is like a cat's tongue, show them what's dangerous, what's not, and maybe educate them a little bit. We do a lot of work with the Audubon Society up at Wellfleet, and we do nature tours with them, and the ladies that come aboard are very, very knowledgeable, and I've learned an awful lot from them, and we try to pass it on even our fishing trips, not just the nature trips.
Yeah, that's great. People are, when they come to visit a beautiful place like Cape Cod, they want to learn more about it. We all talk about water, no matter where we live. Arizona, I was just in Idaho. Water's an issue everywhere. So it's great that you can educate those folks that come on board. Love that. Love that.
There's another thing I'll add. Producing the book, it was interesting to see the Dave Howe's era, and he owned and operated the boat for 40 years, which is a long time. And then Chip purchased the business. But for many years, it was truly a family-run business. Chip and his wife and daughters ran the whole business, and it was really a family attitude, and the deckhands would hang around afterwards, and they were friends with the family. Do you want to comment a little bit about that history?
Well, it is a family business, and we tried to focus on that. My daughters were quite young when we started. I believe they were 9 and 12, and we did try to make it just a family atmosphere, and it's molded them, I think, to who they are. It's actually kind of funny, is after the first season, first parent-teacher conference, the teacher pulled us aside and wanted to know what had happened to my daughters. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they said, well, they were always kind of quiet and didn't want to raise their hand, always had the right answer when we called upon them. But now they're talking to other parents in the parking lot, they're talking to the principal. And I think working with the general public every day, it brings you out of your shell. One of my current deckhands is the same way, and his mom asked me at the end of the summer, said, what have you done to that boy? He said, he's now telling jokes, he's telling other people, he's talking to the mailman, he's talking to the doctor.
Oh, and isn't that wonderful?
It is a family business, we've had a lot of fun with it. Our deckhands have evolved into more of our extended family than just employees.
I love that
It's been a
story.
good time.
And all around a wonderful history of the Albatross, too.
Well, it is fun. As Scott had mentioned, that's kind of the really cool thing about it is I get phone calls all the time, said, do you have room for 2 tomorrow? It's my birthday. I'm turning 40. And my dad said, what do you want to do? And I said, same thing I did when I was 15. I want to go out in the Albatross. So
Oh, I love that.
we get a lot of that.
That's awesome. That's great. Now, Scott, let's talk a little bit about the Albatross. The book, excuse me. What was the research like? How difficult was it to find the 40 or so deckhands that you mentioned that you spoke with?
It was more difficult than I thought because the kids that worked on the boat that are my age and younger, a lot of them are not on Facebook and social media, and they're hard to track down, whereas the kids nowadays, in the last 20 years or so, they're very easy to find by email. So I really had a challenge to balance the amount of data or input from the young people versus the old people. But it was a good cross-section, and Dave and Chip were able to point towards a few of the characters to track down.
The characters, make sure you get those really funny stories, I bet, right?
Yeah, there were many. So the book was fun in the sense that I could address many topics in different chapters, whether it be the crazy things we did as teenage kids on the boat, pranks and things. So
Sure.
there's also a section on all the different types of fish that have been caught over the years. So the book has a lot of different purposes, but it was mostly to document how Dave started the business and how he thought back in those days and what it was like in Dennis back in the 60s. And now it's such a different business. And
Yeah.
it's good
Sounds
history.
like you're carrying on the legacy, though, making families happy and having a wonderful experience on Cape Cod.
We're trying to do that. We try to, try to make sure, even on, the mates are very, very good about showing the kids stuff. And even on a slow fishing day, hopefully we can show them a really good time and maybe they can learn something.
That's
So,
great.
I like that.
That's great. So if folks want to learn more about the Albatross, how could they reach you, Chip?
We do have a website. It's just albatrossfishing.com.
Okay,
And that's
wonderful.
our website there.
Great.
And we're in the book.
Awesome.
And you've got a good Facebook page.
We're on
good.
Facebook.
Yeah, that's real good.
We're on
That's great.
Facebook.
Awesome.
Yep.
And what about where can our viewers pick up the book?
Chip has it placed in a number of the local businesses in Dennis and East Dennis, like, of course, DPM and 7-Eleven, the Marina and places like that. And it can be found on Amazon.
Okay.
And I've got a website also with my other book, McDowell.com.
Well, hopefully you'll get some of these other deckhands that you weren't able to reach, that they'll end up seeing this and you'll be able to find more stories to share.
We could revise the book someday. I've only been approached by 2 or 3 other guys that weren't in the book, so we've got most of them.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
We're going to cut more.
Well, thank you so much for being here today and for writing such a wonderful book in the history of the Albatross.
Thank you, Kate.
Thank you. Thanks for being here.
And thanks for joining us. Until next time.